Hi, this tutorial is a quick look into how to get started with your newly acquired Kendo UI Complete for ASP.NET MVC. Now, if you've purchased the Kendo UI Complete for ASP.NET MVC, you have also gotten the server wrappers that you can use at server side. So you have three options to get started using Kendo UI Complete for ASP.NET MVC. Number one is to use the default template that gets installed in Visual Studio. Number two is to configure the ASP.NET MVC 4 application using the configure option from the menu. And finally, you can do the whole setup manually if you already have a complex ASP.NET MVC 4 application in development. So let's quickly look at all the three options. First, we'll be taking a look at the default templates that gets installed in Visual Studio 2012. I'm clicking on New Project, and in the New Project dialog you can see the Kendo UI for MVC web application indicated as a template under the web section. I'm going to select this and say create the solution. This is the easiest way to get started. You're presented with a simple dialog, which is the target MVC version that you want to use. I'm creating an ASP.NET MVC 4 application, so that's what I'm going to select with Razor Engine and the default theme of Kendo UI. By default, Kendo UI comes with these 5 themes. I'm going to let Kendo UI copy the editor templates into the solution, and I'm going to remove adding any test project. Clicking on next, this will ask you if I wanted to add any ORM, and not just any ORM but Telerik Open Access ORM. For this demonstration, I'm not going to add any. I'm going to skip it and I'm going to click finish. Okay, so the project creation has been successful, and you will notice it is indicated at the bottom of Visual Studio. Okay, this has added a lot of references and the right JavaScript and CSS files that I have to use within my application. However, let's quickly get started by running this project and seeing what is currently there. Alright, we have the first page, and this looks like the MVC 3 template which has been modified by the Kendo team. So what we're going to do now from here is to add a simple Kendo UI date picker in the solution. So you will notice in the controller section I have the home controller, and this is calling the view, and I'm going to browse to the view section quickly and open up index.cshtml. You will notice this is what we saw when we ran the solution. I'm going to quickly remove all this from the page, and to get started with Kendo UI MVC, all I have to do is to start using the HTML wrappers that are made available by Kendo UI. So I'm going to use the Razor syntax HTML. You will notice I have full IntelliSense support, and I'm going to use date picker. I'm going to name it as my birthday. Now the thing to note is the Kendo UI for MVC is a fluent API, so you can continue to chain the properties, methods one after the other. So I'm going to specify the value I want to show as default, and let me say it's going to be today's date. I think we're all set to run the application. Alright, the solution has come up. The page here displays today's date, and it also displays the Kendo date picker that we set out to get. You can select different dates and you can see this is working. So this was the fastest way to get started with Kendo UI MVC wrappers. Now let's look at the second way of adding Kendo UI MVC wrappers into your existing MVC4 application. So I would assume that I have an MVC application already in existence. So I will just call it existing MVC application. I'm going to choose an internet application and I'm going to let Visual Studio create the solution. Okay, the solution is ready and I'm going to run it just so that you know that this is an MVC4 application running with the default templates. Okay, here is the beautiful MVC4 template responsive layout. However, this is still not a Kendo UI MVC enabled. Let's see how we can do that. And I mentioned there's a simple right click that you have to do on the project name. There is a menu option that you will observe, which is Kendo UI for ASP.NET MVC. All you really need to do is to click on convert to Kendo UI for ASP.NET MVC application. It will ask you the same options that you saw the first time around. I'm going to use the default options here and use the theme as default and click on finish. One of the first things that you will notice that has happened is addition of a reference to kendo.mvc. Now let's quickly get back into modifying the solution to add the date picker. I'm going to go back into the views folder, under that home, and open up index.cshtml. So you can see there is a lot of information here. I'm probably going to get rid of all of it. All we really need to do here is to find the date picker. So I'm going to start typing the Razor syntax and see if I get back the IntelliSense, which I did. This is exciting. I say give me the date picker with the name my birthday. Alright, and then using the Fluent API, say the value should be today's. Okay, I think we're all set and we will run the application. Alright, all is not hunky-dory. You will see some exception, so let's break it and let's try and understand what went wrong. Really, if you notice, the script documents list jQuery min and jQuery 1.7.1.js. So there is jQuery that is done twice. Let us identify where it was the problem occurred. The place where all the references to Kendo UI was added was in the shared section layout.cshtml. So let's get there. In the shared section, open up layout.cshtml. You will notice that by default Kendo UI has added all these references. However, by default ASP.NET MVC4 adds another reference of the jQuery right at the bottom. So I'm going to comment this out and try and see if this solves the problem. And yes, it did. What we have is a fully functional Kendo date picker.